The eviction notice trembled in my grip as I stared at my husband's signature sprawled at the bottom. Not a copy but the real thing, written in blue ink as casually as if he were signing a greeting card. When I pressed the electronic key fob against the front door, it blinked red, refusing me entry into what was supposed to be my own home. The security code had been altered. I'm Morgan, a 34-year-old ICU nurse. And this was how I discovered that my husband of 7 years had sold our house without saying a word to me. Ethan. I called out, my voice echoing across what used to be, our front porch. Sweat clung to my scrubs after an exhausting 12-hour night shift, where I had lost 2 patients but managed to save a third. I reached for the spare key hidden under the decorative rock, but it was gone. Through the window I could see my suitcase sitting in the middle of an otherwise empty living room. My phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Had to make an executive decision, honey. The market was too good to pass up. Your things are packed. The new owners move in next week. I read it 3 times, each repetition stoking the fire in my chest, mingling with the bone-deep exhaustion of back-to-back night shifts. Executive decision? Like I was some employee he could dismiss rather than his wife. Hands trembling, I called my sister. Piper, I choked out when she answered, my voice breaking. Ethan sold the house. He what? Her voice shot up an octave, the background noise of her classroom momentarily filtering through the line. Without telling you. Without even discussing it. There's an eviction notice. My suitcase is inside and I can't even get to it. He changed the security code. I'm on my way right now, don't move. Riley's with me. 20 minutes later, Piper's sensible sedan pulled up in the driveway. Her partner Riley was with her. Thank God. Piper wrapped me in a fierce hug while Riley, who worked in construction and specialized in security systems, assessed the lock. Standard keypad system, she noted, voice calm and focused. Give me 5 minutes. Is this even legal? Piper demanded, still holding on to me, her teacher's ID badge pressing against my arm. Does it even matter? I wiped my eyes, refusing to let the nosy neighbors peeking through their blinds see me cry. 7 years, Pipe. 7 years, and he didn't even have the decency to talk to me about it. Riley had the door open in 3 minutes flat, using techniques I didn't understand but was deeply grateful for. The house was eerily empty. Most of the furniture was gone. My suitcase sat in the middle of the floor, a note taped to the top. Honey, I know you'll be upset, but this is for the best. The market's hot and we made a killing. I moved most of our stuff to storage. Take what you need for now. We'll talk tonight. Love, E. Piper snatched the note from my hands, her teacher voice emerging. The audacity of this man. I unzipped my suitcase, my stomach sinking. He had packed my clothes. Completely wrong, of course. No underwear. No toiletries. Just a random assortment of dresses and pants. Not a single nursing uniform. No compression socks. None of my medical journals I'd been studying for my critical care certification. You're staying with us, Riley stated firmly, placing a steadying hand on my shoulder. No discussion. My phone buzzed again, Ethan. Don't be dramatic about this. It's just business. I read the message aloud, my voice hollow. Just business. Our home was just business. The home I had worked extra shifts to help pay for. Call Diane, Piper suggested, referring to my best friend from college. She works at the bank. She'll know if this is even legal. I nodded, but before I could dial, another text came through. This one from Marcus, Ethan's friend from business school. Hey Morgan, Ethan told me about the house. Great deal, right? You must be thrilled about the investment opportunity. That's when it hit me. Marcus knew before I did. Ethan had told his friend about selling our house, but hadn't told his own wife. The wife who had just worked 16 hours keeping people alive while he was off signing away our home. I need to get some things, I muttered, heading upstairs, my body moving on autopilot. The master bedroom was nearly empty, save for a few boxes labeled Morgan's stuff in Ethan's sloppy handwriting. I grabbed the essentials. My nursing credentials, specialized textbooks, the family photo album. My gaze landed on our wedding photo still hanging on the wall. Ethan's smile looked different now. Not loving. Smug. Like he had won something. Found this in the kitchen, Riley called from downstairs. She appeared in the doorway holding a stack of documents. Looks like loan paperwork. Dated 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. He had been sitting on this for 3 weeks, watching me water the garden after long shifts, paint the guest room on my rare weekend off, plan our future in a house he had already sold. 3 weeks of kissing me goodbye before I left for work, knowing I was saving for our future, while he was betraying me. Morgan? Piper asked softly, using the same calming tone she reserved for distressed students. What are you going to do? I took one last look at our wedding photo, then carefully removed it from the frame. Hidden behind the picture was what I was looking for. Access to a cloud storage account Ethan thought I didn't know about. He had stashed the password there 2 years ago thinking he was clever. I snapped a photo of it. First, I said, a chilling calm settling over me, I'm calling Diane. Then I'm calling Zane. Piper's brows shot up. Diane's cousin? The lawyer. I nodded. Ethan wanted to talk business? Fine. Let's talk business. As we pulled away from the house, my phone buzzed one last time. Ethan again. Don't forget dinner at 7. We'll discuss the new arrangement. That medical device investment is still on the table. I turned off my phone. Ethan had no idea what kind of arrangement was coming his way. He gestured at the array of documents sprawled before us. You seem to have these in abundance. How long should I wait to respond to Ethan? Diane and Zane exchanged glances. Give me 48 hours, Zane instructed. Don't tell him anything, don't meet him, don't respond. Let him assume you're too emotional to think rationally. I nodded, picking up my phone just as another message appeared from Riley. Remember what I learned the hard way. The best revenge isn't served hot or cold. It's served when they least expect it. Turning off my phone, I met Zane's gaze, all traces of exhaustion leaving my body. Let's talk about what happens next. Every deposit, every transfer, every contribution you've made to joint expenses, Zane said, meticulously arranging files on his polished mahogany desk. It's all here going back 7 years. I had spent the last 2 days holed up in Zane's downtown office, reconstructing my financial history, surviving on coffee and sheer determination. Diane sat beside me, taking notes and highlighting patterns we uncovered, her banking expertise proving invaluable. Look at this, Diane pointed at a spreadsheet on her tablet. You paid for last year's kitchen renovation, $40,000. Money you saved from working holiday shifts 3 years in a row. That renovation conveniently increased the house's value by $90,000. Money that Ethan and his friends will now pocket, Zane added, adjusting his glasses. All while you were pulling double shifts at the ICU. My phone lit up with another message from Ethan. 3 days of silence? Real mature, Morgan. I'm losing patience. We have investment decisions to make. He's getting nervous, Diane noted, a hint of satisfaction in her tone. Good. Let him squirm. A knock at the door interrupted us. Riley walked in, a stack of papers in her arms, her construction uniform still on, clearly straight from work. You were right about the renovation company, she said, dropping the documents on Zane's desk. It's owned by one of the LLC partners. My foreman confirmed it. They've been flipping houses all over town using the same scheme. I pulled records from the permit office. I flipped through the documents, my clinical focus kicking in. These are all recent sales, all within the last 18 months. Exactly, Riley confirmed, pointing at dates. They buy low through shell companies, renovate using their own firm, and sell high through different shells. Permits are pushed through by the same inspector. The profits never touch personal accounts. Zane leaned back in his chair, a slow smile forming. This is bigger than we expected. It's not just your house. This is systematic fraud. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from Piper. Ethan just showed up at my school looking for you. I told him to get lost before I called security. Also, check what Marcus's wife just posted on Instagram. I pulled up the post. There it was, Brooke flaunting their new vacation home in Aspen with the caption, "New beginnings in our mountain retreat." The post was from the same week my house had been sold. Diane glanced over my shoulder. That's an interesting timeline. Wonder where that down payment came from, especially considering their financial struggles last year. Zane was already typing. Property records show. Would you look at that? Purchased through BMI Ventures. The same company receiving regular transfers from Ethan. The medical investment funds, I whispered, the realization slamming into me. The money I had saved for our future, our supposed dream, had funded their luxury getaway. Riley sat beside me. Morgan, I know this is overwhelming, but you need to hear something. She pulled out her phone and played a voice message. Riley, I know you and Piper are hiding her. Ethan's voice filled the room, laced with barely controlled anger. Just tell Morgan she's being ridiculous. This is business. The house was in my name, I had every right. She needs to understand her place in this marriage. My hands stopped shaking. Something inside me solidified, the way it did when a critical patient arrived in the ICU and I knew I was their best chance. Pie Place. I echoed, my voice eerily calm. Let me show him exactly where I stand. Zane pulled out a fresh legal pad. Here's the plan. First, we file an emergency injunction to freeze the sale proceeds. Then we go after the LLC for fraud. Won't that tip our hand? Diane asked, ever the cautious banker. Zane smirked. No, because Morgan has something they don't know about. I retrieved my phone, pulling up cloud storage access, Ethan's private records. Every email, every document, everything he thought was safely hidden. Riley checked her messages. Another one from Ethan. I'm giving you until tomorrow to come home and discuss this reasonably. After that, things will have to change. Oh, things will change all right, I muttered, thinking of every overnight shift I had pulled while he orchestrated this betrayal. Zane slid a document toward me. Sign here. This grants us permission to subpoena all LLC records. I signed. Diane's phone pinged. She scanned the message and let out a low whistle. What? I asked. Remember that real estate agent I called? She just sent over Ethan's showing appointments from last month. Guess who was touring luxury condos downtown? I didn't need to guess. Ethan had been planning his escape for months, while I had been saving lives, dreaming of our future. Riley squeezed my shoulder. Whatever you decide next, we've got your back. I met Zane's gaze. How long until everything's ready? Give me until Friday. Then we move. A new message appeared on my screen from Brooke. Morgan, we need to talk. There's something you should know about Ethan and Marcus's business trips to Aspen. Friday it is, I said, straightening my posture, feeling more like myself than I had in weeks. Time to show Ethan exactly what my place is in this marriage. Diane grinned. Should we warn him you're coming? I allowed myself a small, knowing smile. No. Let's make it a surprise. He loves making executive decisions without me. Let's see how he likes it when the tables turn. Zane closed his briefcase. Not a word to anyone. Let them believe you're too emotional to function. The element of surprise is our greatest weapon. Glancing at my phone one last time, Ethan's final message glowed on the screen. I hope you're using this time to think about your behavior. I smirked, my instincts for precision and timing taking over. Oh, I'm thinking all right. Just not the way he imagined. He spluttered, his eyes darting frantically around the restaurant, as if searching for an escape route. Diane returned to our table, this time accompanied by Zane. Actually, Zane interjected, placing a thick envelope on the table, everything she has done is completely legal. Unlike, say, using shell companies to conceal assets from your spouse or misappropriating medical investment funds for personal use. Ethan's face turned from pale to a furious shade of red. You brought a lawyer to dinner? Well, I countered, raising an eyebrow. You brought Marcus into our marriage. Seems fair, doesn't it? Miss Mitchell, Zane said formally, shall we proceed with filing the divorce papers? Divorce. Ethan choked on his words. Morgan, be reasonable. I finally stood, meeting his gaze directly. I am being reasonable. In fact, I'm being pragmatic. Isn't that what you always wanted from me? Ethan's jaw clenched. You'll regret this. No, I replied, picking up my purse. I regret not doing it sooner. Boy, Ethan. The salmon was truly excellent. Should try it. I already paid for it, with the last bit of credit you had left. As I walked out with Zane and Diane, Ethan's phone buzzed one final time. I turned back briefly, just in time to see the color drain from his face as he stared at the screen. I knew, thanks to Brooke, that she had just sent him a message. We need to talk about the women you brought to Aspen. They're scrambling, Diane remarked, scrolling through her phone. We were in Zane's office the next morning, watching the fallout unfold through the massive windows overlooking the city. Brooke has been posting cryptic messages about trust and betrayal on Instagram, Diane added, her banker instincts evident in how precisely she tracked the digital aftermath. She's tagged every partner's wife. The LLC's lawyer has been trying to reach me since dawn, Zane said, adjusting his tie as he checked his messages. They're offering to negotiate. I sipped my coffee, feeling an unusual sense of calm, like the clarity that sometimes follows a prolonged trauma case. Too late for that. My phone lit up with a text from Riley. Ethan just tried to get into your old house. The new owners called the police. He's completely unraveling, Piper noted from her perch on Zane's windowsill. Good. Let him experience what it's like to be locked out of his own home. Her usual gentle voice had a rare, sharp edge. Another message popped up, this one from Marcus's wife, Brooke. Morgan, I'm ready to talk. Meet me at Lakeside Cafe in an hour. I showed Zane the text. He nodded approvingly. Go. But take this. He handed me a small recording device. These situations can escalate quickly. The morning rush had subsided when I arrived at the cafe. Brooke sat in a corner booth, looking nothing like her curated Instagram photos. Her eyes were red, her designer handbag clutched tightly against her chest like a shield. Even her flawless makeup couldn't conceal her distress. Thank you for coming, she said, her voice hoarse. Told me what? I asked, keeping my tone calm, the same soothing presence I used with anxious patients. With trembling hands, she unlocked her phone and slid it across the table. The screen filled with photos. Ethan and Marcus in various locations, always with different women. The timestamps matched the supposed business trips Ethan had attended, the very ones I had paid for with my overtime shifts. There's more, Brooke whispered, her voice cracking. The houses weren't just for flipping. They were party houses. My mind pieced it together with clinical precision. That's why they sold below market value. They needed places that couldn't be traced back to them. She nodded, a single tear sliding down her cheek. Some of the women were escorts. Expensive ones. Paid through BMI Ventures. I inhaled sharply. That's what those regular transfers were for, I muttered, remembering the funds that should have gone toward our medical startup. The money I had spent years saving. My phone buzzed again. Ethan. Whatever Brooke tells you is a lie. She's unstable. Don't trust her. I turned the screen toward Brooke. She let out a bitter laugh, dabbing at her tears. Unstable? I have bank statements, receipts, hotel bookings. I documented everything. Would you be willing to share those with my lawyer? She reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive. I'll do better than that. I made cloud backups. Both our phones buzzed simultaneously. A group message from Marcus. Emergency meeting at the office. Everyone needs to be there. No exceptions. Brooke's facade cracked. They're panicking. The wives are comparing notes. You're not the only one they've deceived. I stood. Come with me to Zane's office. We need to move quickly. This changes everything, Zane said, scanning the files spread across his desk. His usual lawyer's detachment slipped for a moment. We're not just looking at civil charges anymore. This is criminal territory. Money laundering, tax evasion, misappropriation of funds. Ethan's messages were growing more frantic. Morgan, we need to talk. Think about our future. Our plans. I can explain. Diane, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly stiffened. Look at this. She pointed at her laptop screen. They're trying to transfer the house again, to another shell company. They can't, Zane said, frowning. The injunction prevents any property transfers. They're trying anyway. Desperate men make desperate moves. As if on cue, Piper rushed in. Ethan's at the house again. He's trying to break in. Zane was already dialing. I'm calling the police. This ends now. I picked up my phone, finally responding to Ethan's barrage of messages. Stop trying to enter the house. It's not yours anymore. Just like I'm not yours anymore. His response was instant. You have no idea what you're doing. You're ruining everything. No, I typed back, feeling the unwavering certainty I felt when making a critical medical decision. I'm exposing what you built. There's a difference. Brooke touched my arm. There's one more thing you should see. She pulled up a photo. Ethan with a younger woman outside a jewelry store. This was last week, she said quietly. Right after he sold your house. I took a deep breath. Send it to me. My phone buzzed again, a message from Marcus. Morgan, let's be reasonable. Name your price. Think about your medical startup. I looked at Zane. They're offering a buyout. He smiled grimly. They don't get it, do they? I shook my head, standing taller than I had in months. No. This isn't about money anymore. It's about justice. Zane glanced at his watch. Their emergency meeting starts in an hour. I grabbed my bag. Let's give them a meeting they'll never forget. I showed the message to Ethan. Sending friends to do your dirty work now? You're bluffing, Marcus scoffed, crossing his arms. Grasping at straws. You wouldn't dare risk everything in a legal battle. You're too invested in that medical startup idea. I slid one last document across the table, its crisp pages official and binding. Remember that prenup you made me sign, Ethan? The one that ensured I got nothing if I was unfaithful. My voice was steady as I met his gaze. Well, turns out it works both ways. And unlike you, I have proof. Ethan's hands trembled as he picked up the paper, his face paling as he read the clauses he had so confidently enforced, never imagining they'd be used against him. You have 1 hour to decide, Zane announced, checking his watch. After that, we take this to the authorities. You lose everything. All this, just for revenge? Ethan's voice was barely a whisper, a flicker of genuine fear flashing in his eyes. I leaned forward, my tone firm. No, sweetheart. This is simply an executive decision. And the market for justice is too good to pass up. As we turned to leave, Brooke stood, smoothing her designer dress. I'm going with them, she told Marcus. The divorce papers will be filed today. Brooke, wait. I paused at the door, turning back for one final blow. Ethan, that young nurse you bought a diamond bracelet for last week. The one in blue scrubs? I offered a saccharine smile. She works at my hospital. Consider the statement she gave HR about your inappropriate advances, our insurance policy. The last thing I saw before the door closed was Ethan's face crumbling as he realized how completely he had been outmaneuvered by the wife he had so thoroughly underestimated. In the elevator, Diane checked her watch. 59 minutes until their world collapses. Unless they take the deal. They'll take it, I said confidently. The nurse in me recognized the signs of men cornered by their own greed. And men like them always chose self-preservation over reputation. Zane's phone buzzed. Their lawyer just called, he announced. They're ready to negotiate. I smiled. Right on schedule. 3 days later, Zane slid a monogrammed pen across the table. Sign here and here, he instructed, pointing to the marked lines. Initial these pages. Ethan's hands shook as he signed, his composure hanging by a thread. Across the table, Marcus and the other partners followed suit, their lawyers hovering anxiously behind them like nervous parents at a school recital. 3 days had passed since our confrontation. We were back in the same conference room, but the power dynamic had shifted dramatically. The expensive leather chairs, once symbols of their dominance, now bore witness to their surrender. That's the last of the property transfers, Zane announced, stacking the signed pages neatly. BMI Ventures is now officially under new management. You've ruined us, Marcus muttered, staring at the table, his designer watch suddenly feeling like a heavy chain around his wrist. No, Brooke corrected, her voice steady. You ruined yourselves. We just exposed it. My phone buzzed. A message from Piper. The moving trucks just finished at the house. Everything's out. Riley supervised to make sure they didn't damage anything. Ethan's head snapped up. Where are my things? In storage, I replied coolly. Just like you did with mine. The access code will be sent to your lawyer. His voice cracked, desperation seeping through his facade. What am I supposed to do now? Where am I supposed to go? I met his gaze, unflinching. Funny. Those are the exact questions I asked myself when you sold our house while I was working a double shift saving lives. One of the partners abruptly stood, his designer suit wrinkled from stress. This is insane. We had a good thing going. Diane pulled up images on the screen. You mean these good things? The display flickered to life, showing pictures of their lavish parties, secret meetings, and suspicious bank transfers, each catalogued with a banker's precision. The men winced as their hidden world was laid bare in high definition. Enough, Zane said firmly. The deals are signed. You've been compensated, more than fairly considering the alternatives. Fairly compensated? Ethan spat, his true nature surfacing. You took everything. Not everything, I corrected, my tone as calm as when delivering bad news in the ICU. Just the illegally obtained assets. You each still have your personal accounts. Well, what's left of them? Marcus's lawyer cleared his throat. My client wishes to discuss the Aspen property. The property purchased with laundered money? Zane cut in, raising an eyebrow. It's been surrendered as evidence of criminal activity. Unless you'd like to explain its funding source to the FBI. Silence. The lawyer suddenly found his legal pad very interesting. My phone buzzed again, Riley. Police are ready to move on the other properties whenever you give the word. I showed the message to Zane, who nodded. Gentlemen, he announced, I suggest you use what's left of your resources to start fresh far away. Because once this goes public. Marcus's head snapped up. You promised we wouldn't press charges. We never promised silence, Brooke interjected coolly. Ethan shot up from his seat, knocking his chair back. Morgan, please. We can fix this. We can start over with the medical investment like you planned. Start over. I pulled out one last photo, Ethan in a jewelry store caught in the act. How much did that bracelet cost? More or less than the medical device funding you diverted. He collapsed back into his chair, utterly defeated. Mr. Mitchell, Zane said, his tone final. I suggest you leave now. Your new apartment lease starts today. The address has been sent to your lawyer. Ethan blinked. New apartment? 1 bedroom. 3rd floor walk up, I replied. The rent fits within your new budget. I picked it myself. Consider it my final executive decision in our marriage. One by one, the partners shuffled out, their lawyers ushering them toward the elevators like disgraced politicians. Marcus hesitated at the door. Brooke. She didn't even look up. Save it. The divorce papers are being filed this afternoon. Your things will be gone by the time I get home. Ethan lingered last. I never meant. Yes, you did, I cut in. You just never thought I'd fight back. The door clicked shut behind him, a sound not unlike the closing of a hospital room after delivering difficult news. Later that evening, as we painted the walls of my new home, a rich terracotta warm and full of life, I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. Ethan always said I was bad at making decisions, I mused, dipping my brush into the paint. That I needed his guidance. Diane grinned. And now look who's leading the way. My phone buzzed. A message from Ethan's mother. He wants to apologize. He seems genuinely sorry. Brooke glanced at my screen. Delete it. Already done, I said without hesitation. Some chapters weren't meant to be reopened. As we clinked our glasses, toasting new beginnings, I knew one thing for certain. This time I was writing my own story. I picked up my paint roller again, its weight now familiar in my hands after hours of effort, as if it had become an extension of me. It was just another day, another sunrise bringing the same routine, another 24 hours that felt like a loop of the past. So, what do you say? Piper asked, her curiosity genuine as she paused her painting to glance at me. I dipped the roller into the paint, applying another deliberate stroke onto the wall, each movement marking not just a transformation of the space but a reflection of my own renewal. I say it's not just another day, it's a fresh start, I replied, feeling the truth of my own words settle deep within me. And this time I'm the one calling the shots. Laughter filled the room, bouncing off the newly painted walls that would never again hold secrets or shelter deception. From this moment forward, they would stand for truth, justice, and the family I had built for myself. Not a family bound by paperwork or shared last names, but one rooted in loyalty, mutual respect, and the kind of love that arrives with paint rollers and champagne when you need a new beginning. As Riley hung a string of warm lights across the freshly painted ceiling and Diane popped open another bottle, I felt something stir inside me, something I hadn't experienced in years. The simple, undeniable joy of belonging. Not as someone's wife. Not as just a nurse. But as Morgan, strong, capable, and finally completely free.